Hi, team. Well, welcome to 10 Talks. Today's conversation is just another conversation all about going from impossible to I'm possible. And it's about the journey of intentional training and really being intentional about going for what you want and what you care about. And our guest today is one of my clients that I had the opportunity to coach, and our coaching season was inside the development of intentional training. And so I asked if he would join us and give me feedback. And so that's what we're going to share today. We're going to share that journey and just what he learned being really in our program as we were developing it. So Barret, welcome. Great to have you. It's going to be a fun conversation. So let's start with the power of your story.
All right, well, great. Well, thank you so much for bringing me on and having me participate in this opportunity. I am the director of CAIPER, which is the Center for Advancing Interprofessional Practice, Education, and Research. It's nested within the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation within Arizona State University, and I'm also an associate professor over there. So my story kind of begins coming out of grad school and taking a job at University of Delaware as an assistant professor and kind of climbing my way through academia into different leadership opportunities, and then given the opportunity to be an associate dean of interprofessional education and interdisciplinary initiatives, and kind of grew a bit there, and then had the opportunity to shift gears, kind of step into a different role to really advance the research and different approaches to interprofessional education with Arizona State and with CAIPER. And it was a great opportunity for me and my family. So, right in the heart of the pandemic, we moved out into the desert. It was the hottest summer on record, but we didn't know any different. And so
Get
we
used
moved
to
out
it, right?
here.
It's like that's not going to be changing. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's insane. And so we're now kind of advancing in that area of getting to know the flora and fauna of Arizona in many distinct and intimate ways. But also the job has really taken off, and kind of I was at a point in which I felt as though we were moving forward. The team that I had at ASU was moving forward, but I felt a bit lost based upon different organizational culture, as well as kind of how to navigate the next step with my team. And so I really was looking for something that would help me kind of take that next step and step into that role and really help guide my team into the next level. So that's my story in a nutshell.
that's a beautiful story. And so as we were doing our coaching workouts together, I asked you to try our intentional training. So I want to talk about what did you learn, kind of share our before the intentional training and the after intentional training, just so we get a great picture of it.
Sure. So before, well, I'll start with this. I was seeing the intentional training when you were talking about it and showing some of the fundamentals of it. I saw it as a way to really stay on track and kind of be better organized with my time, and seeing how that time was being utilized. So in kind of jumping into it, it was I had felt before as though my time was being utilized very sporadically. There was no organization to it. I didn't have, even though I kept two different types of schedules. I had one on Outlook, and then I had one in a kind of one of those pen and paper binder type ones. And I still felt like my days were out of control. Like I was always playing catch up, that I didn't get the time to do what I needed to do. And I didn't know where my energy was going towards. And so getting into the intentional training, not only was I able to map out kind of where things needed to happen, but it helped me prioritize what needed to happen, and not just work-wise, but then also really open the door to spending intentional time with my family, especially my son, who I felt I wasn't spending a good amount of positive energy with because of work-related stuff and other things. So the kind of early stages of utilizing the intentional training helped me understand better not only how my time was being mapped out, but how to best utilize my time and my energy. And that was the key. And it's helped me so much, although I will say initially it was really exhausting.
And a bit overwhelming,
and a
right?
bit overwhelming to say, like, where did the time go?
Yeah.
Why is there only this amount of time for this? But over time, I really have been able to keep to that structure and get things done, checking off things off my list. I'm really surprised at how much is getting done. But then most importantly to me, really is that intentional time with my family and my son to say like, no, we're done here. This is now my time with him. And that is what this is for. I think so often I was saying, well, I still have work in the background.
Right.
With this, I don't. So,
well, I love the gift of productivity coming inside time and energy management. So many
right.
times when people hear training, it's like, oh, what does that mean? And how does that work? And really, in all of our work, we do have to be intentional about
Yes.
changing who we are, setting up new rituals and routines. And so our intentional training isn't just about time management, it's
Yeah.
energy management.
Exactly.
And it's on 3 dimensions: personally, professionally, and philanthropically. And that's really the gift, is to own those different dimensions. And so I'd love for you to share with the team really how you were more productive professionally, and
Yeah.
then really, if I can say, happier or more
Yeah.
at peace or more present
Oh,
personally.
totally. And so with the intentional training, I was able to, over time, although initially it became a bit overwhelming and I was like, where is my time? I can't do this. I have to get this stuff done. What happened was I felt more in control and more kind of at ease and at peace with the amount of work related materials that I had to do. They were able to be mapped out of prioritization of, okay, these are the top things that have to happen this week for sure. And then once you see that, sometimes it's easy to think like, oh, these are so important. Everything is so important. You sort of realize like, no. This can get moved over here and this can wait till next week and nothing is going to be an emergency, but these things actually do have these deadlines. So you start to map that out. And so the professional kind of takes shape and you start to see, okay, wait, it's actually, I have this amount of time for these amount of things. So let me now shift and see what's the personal stuff that we're utilizing.
Right.
Where is that fitting in to make sure there's a balance? And then of course the philanthropic kind of then rose to the surface because for me personally, was once I started mapping it out, I was able to say, oh, wait a second, I actually have time to engage with my community, to engage with my colleagues, to engage with other various things. So I was able to add new dimensions to my day where I would not even have fathomed being able to start a run club, a local run club. Now it's like, well, no, that fits in perfectly. There's plenty of time for that. So all of those things help out, and then that calmness comes with not only having control of your day, but then also being okay with the idea of not giving people your time and using your time intentionally.
Right.
Not giving any of those 30-minute little slides to something that's not going to bring, that's not going to hit it on a 10 or, even close to a 10, or just is not something that's going to bring you to a win. And so that really helped open my eyes as well for all of those things on those levels, those dimensions.
So team, as you're listening, just with us talking about intentional training, really the system is our days are broken into 30-minute blocks. And so you basically fill it out with everything that you've got to do in 30-minute time slots. And what a challenge it is for me. That's what I loved about it in the beginning, is I was like, okay, emails for 30 minutes, bam, let's get this done, right? And I would win that 30 minutes rather than I'll get emails done today.
Yeah.
So really the intentionality is all about, what 30-minute slot am I putting every single thing that I have to do inside of that 30 minutes? And once you give that gold away, that 30 minutes of gold of time, it's like there's no getting it back. So that's where we go into our stat system on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm not going to give that 30 minutes something that's not an 8, 9, or 10. So I'm going to be very intentional that if I give you 30 minutes, I'm going to show up and make it a 10. And that's really the training component. And so let's talk about being overwhelmed to being calm and actually more productive and getting to go 3D.
Yeah, one of the things, and you had just mentioned this, was kind of showing up to those times. So to the things that you have in those days. And I was hesitant because of lack of preparation, because I felt so overwhelmed and so all sorted out, that I was not coming to meetings. I was almost not fearful, but just apprehensive. I didn't want to be there. And I would probably show up with that kind of attitude. Now, through the intentional training, I mean, today's a great example. I had a couple meetings in the morning that normally I would have been like, oh God, like I don't want to be here. And I showed up with the attitude of like, no, this is my time. I need to own this meeting, not just because of what can come out of it, but because it's my time.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be, kind of tough on yourself and low during your time? And it's okay. There's times and spaces for that.
Right.
But there's also like, okay, no, this is a meeting. I want to be there. I want to be present for this. And so understanding that you have to prepare for that meeting, that you have to be there and giving yourself the time
Mhm.
for that. So that's really that's really been one of the main outcomes for me is kind of being intentional, being present and purposeful in that time frame too, not just for the day,
Right.
for that time frame. So
Well, and I really respect the value of preparation. So many times people see a meeting on the calendar and it's like, okay, I just show up and that's where everything happens. And going to our sports analogies, I mean, practice, practice, practice. It's so much about what preparation are we putting into showing up at 10 and really making that 30 minutes productive. And so, how did you learn or your winning strategies to fit preparation into the intentional practice?
well, it allows you, the way it's structured, it allows you the time and space to see, okay, you have a 30-minute or 15-minute
Yeah.
spot right before, or maybe it's the day
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
And so you can say, okay, once I map out where the meetings are,
Mhm.
then I can see where the spaces are to prepare. And I just mark that time off. Like that's my time. And so I've had to go and so what I'm dealing with now really is the remnants of the before me
Mm.
of these things on my calendar that some I can move, some I can cancel, but some I can't.
Yeah.
And so I have to now work with, oh man, like before Barret really messed future Barret up in terms of that time. And so I have to be very kind of cognizant of, okay, how these things are going to work and where I can find my time. And
Mhm.
then kind of loading up the personal in there as well to make sure that I'm finding that. So there's some time to recharge, even, because it's not always going to happen with the family. You got to find time for yourself to really get back to you so that you can start the next day with a full head of steam.
And that's another one of the desired outcomes of intentional training is winning the day and
Yeah.
so intentional about, okay, today's gold. I mean, I've got it. It's a gift. How am I going to win the day? And then I'm going to rest and recover personally. That is the desired outcome of our personal life during our work week. And it's also really anchored in well-being.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about personal and professional well-being
Yeah.
inside of this because it has such intention to that as well.
So overarching the overarching kind of theme for me has been honesty and transparency with myself. So I have to be honest about the things that I can do in the day or in the week or in that time frame. I can't say, oh yeah, we'll write a paper in an hour. That'll happen. Or you'll read these articles in an hour. No, that's not going to happen. So you've got to be really honest and upfront and transparent with yourself. And that's not something I was very good at for whatever reason. And so now in terms of well-being, it's again that creates it enhances that calm and presence of this is we can do this. So just stick it out. Just
Yeah.
it's maybe this isn't the most enjoyable. Maybe it's maybe doing emails and it's not the most fun. But it's say, hey, you've only got a 10, 15 more minutes. Let's crank it out.
Yeah.
And let's do it good. So that's been really helpful. And I've found myself, like I said before, the productivity
Mhm.
has the productivity, but also where and where to put my energy into.
Right.
So before I would often put my energy into things that would get kind of a reactive state, and I would spend just so much time thinking about or mulling over an email or a future conversation or something that really did not require my energy or my energy could have been better utilized. So now I find like, do I really need to invest myself in this, or could I actually utilize that energy for something far more productive?
Yeah.
And that has been essential for work, but also essential for personal and home life, where I'm able to hey, call it. The practice is over. Day's done. It's
Yes.
time to now focus on home and family life and focus with them. And so that ability to shift gears, to
Mhm.
create, it's not a balance, but it's to create time
Right.
and be in that time with my family has been essential to my own personal well-being.
And so you brought it home to your family. How'd your family feel about this, right? Your family didn't sign up for intentional training. They didn't sign up for coaching, and
No.
now they got this. And so
Yeah.
what's it like when you bring it home to your family?
So I will say, with my wife, it was is as though she's like something has happened, like in a positive way,
Yeah.
where I was becoming far more direct and far more open, and just this is where I see things going, and I'm more of a better partner. Plus, also, I was creating time for listening, basically.
Mm.
And I wasn't mapping that out of my intentional training, but I was mapping the family time out, and
Right.
that was their time. And so, during the workday, it was my time, even though, there'd be phone calls or something like that. But once I was home, that was their time, once I was physically with them. And so being able to be there and be like, no, I'm here, I'm present now. I'm not checking my phone for emails. I'm not worried about something that I should have finished because it's either done or whatever. I'm here now with you, and I'm going to listen and give you my time and my energy. And then the same with my son, my family. I've created more of a lighter climate around the house by not bringing that negativity and the stuff that was weighing me down before into the house. And I'm able now to be present and be open, but also I've found more patience with him and, of course, with my wife and with myself.
Yeah.
But and that's just created a better atmosphere at home to where I just feel far more connected to them in that way. Not on the outskirts, kind of like, orbiting them, but now I'm in their orbit and I feel much more present when I'm with them.
I love that you're inside your family rather than somewhat outside watching because your brain is thinking about work or thinking about other things. And that really is what intentional training is about, is every 30 minutes, show up, be where your feet are, be present, and full engagement. And it's also exhausting. I mean, that's a lot to do. And so let's talk about energy management, because once we get our time blocked out on our calendar in these 30-minute slots, now we've got to have the energy to optimally perform. And so it's a lot of energy management. In intentional training, we talk about that, really the biorhythms of where do you peak perform? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Is it in the evening? So you learn that, and then you learn to design your day around really your peak performance energy, and started to work inside understanding your team. So share with us your winning strategies for that.
So it took me a while to find that time of peak performance. And so I played around with for a couple of weeks. I played around with a few things to see where it was. It definitely wasn't in the afternoon. Anytime after about 11 or noon was a challenge. And so I started putting more meetings during that time and more of the email stuff during that time. But times that needed my real focus attention, like writing and reading, that went straight to the front. And so it was like, okay, I've also, I should say, I started going to the office more often. Now I know that's not for everybody, but for me, I needed that shift in location to lock in that this is work time. And I know that's whatever, a lot of people are really challenged with that right now. So to each their own on that.
Yes.
But for me, I had to, once I got to the office, I was like, hey, now it's time to sit down and let's find something that transitions, that helps to transition. And then once around 9 o'clock, it was go time. It was, okay, you pick something that is not a massive lift mentally or cognitively, but something that really is going to, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. That's going to start to really rev the engine. And then we go to the next big thing. But then that was it.
Yeah.
So it was about 2, possibly 3 things from about 9 to 11-ish. That was it.
That's right.
And then the rest of the time was a lot of, and it also helped me shift gears to say, head down, get the stuff done that you don't want to do. Like a good example is if I had to do, reconcile receipts from travel. Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, it's a 1.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, all right, I gotta do it. So, but I put it towards the end of the day yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to give it 2 hours because it might take 2 hours with a little bit of a break in between. And sure enough, I was just like, man, this sucks, but it's done. Let's just get it done. And so that was really helpful. I had already gotten the things that were heavy off it's like when you're gonna do a big lift and now you're doing your accessory work. Yeah. That's what's really helped me in terms of finding that peak performance, utilizing that time, and then kind of existing and really focusing on just getting stuff done, grinding it out for the rest of the day. And it actually has become more enjoyable because my head's not at the other stuff that I just finished.
Well, and you were very productive and you accomplished something. As soon as you get a big accomplishment, you get these endorphins that are really going to set you up for a much better day versus carrying it around in your brain of, I got to do this. Oh my gosh, that's exhausting. So Yeah. So it's really powerful to be intentional about where do I peak perform, designing the day around that, owning your 30 minutes. It's not that we're only peak performing for 2 hours. We know
Yeah,
we've got that, and then we perform for the rest of the
yeah,
day, but it's really at a different level.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so being intentional about owning what needs me at my peak performance, my brain
Mhm.
power, my meeting power, whatever it
Yep.
is, that's the sweet spot. And so
Mhm.
you're very, very intentional about who gets your sweet spot,
Yeah, exactly,
right? And you're
exactly,
not
yep,
wasting it, or you're not kind of checking emails during that time. It is
yeah,
so intentional from a training perspective.
exactly, exactly. So no, that was extremely helpful in terms of helping me organize how the day would proceed, so, yeah.
So part of intentional training is setting these goals and actually going from impossible to I'm possible. So was there something that you thought was somewhat impossible and now it's possible for you?
Th- There are, big projects that I have to engage in with my team that do seem like massive heavy lifts, especially with the little. I always think about there's the big mountain,
Yeah.
then there's the foothills that you got to climb beforehand. And so the foothills always became a problem for me because it was just like I could not get to the big mountain. I was like,
Mm.
oh, I just want to get there. Like, and they were just more and more would add up. With the intentional training, not only am I able to climb the foothills and get through that, but then also make headway on that big mountain bit by bit.
Yeah.
I carry in my office a long time ago. I had a artist friend of mine draw a picture of an elephant with a fork in it. And it's basically that whole adage of, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Well, I would say the intentional training is kind of that for yourself. It's taking one bite at a time to really start conquering that elephant. And it's really helpful to find that I thought it was going to be impossible to do certain things within a certain time frame. And
Yeah.
I would say month by month or week by week even, the impossible has become kind of smaller and smaller. And I say, oh, wait, there, I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. So it's not so much these big things, but as like a steady every month, every few weeks, there's the next mountain. Let's take this on and let's go. So I feel far more productive, far more organized. And I will say this may sound strange, but more mature in terms of understanding how to deal with myself and my time.
Mm.
And that was a whole new kind of window that I didn't expect from the training, but really has helped out, as well as from your coach.
Yeah, well, love that, and just love watching how much we can accomplish when we're intentional about
Yeah,
it and to actually go for what we want rather than being afraid about it. And
yeah.
one of our favorite tools is 10 moments. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is fabulous. And so we think about when we watch our film or kind of think about our life, we think about, okay, what are our 10 moments? And they really are moments. They're moments in time when we really focus on them, it gives us great energy, it gives us great memories, it gives us a chance to be really in what matters to us versus kind of the ones and the twos. So, what would be your 10 moments from intentional training?
Oh, I mean, there
Mhm.
are a number of individual moments that I would say attend, but what I will say in terms of utilizing those kind of statting it up, the idea of statting it up has helped me make 10 moments of moments that I would either take for granted
Mm.
or were not tens before. So for example, certain, like I talked about, certain meetings where I would easily have rated them as twos or threes. I now rate as tens because of the intentional training, not only how it's done in the background, but also the idea of being present at those meetings.
Mm.
So it's helped me kind of make twos and threes into eights, nines, and tens. And then the same thing with, let's say, even just working out. Things that you would take for granted that I do this every day. This is something I do. You start to find through the training and valuing that time and that's your time. That's
That's
your
right.
time to engage with. You start to feel like, okay, wait a second. Let me be present when I'm here. And what are the 10 elements of this and how to make this an actual 10 experience each time I go? So the community that's there with you,
Mm.
feeling your body, doing the movements, like actually breathing in. It's like, oh wow, like this is fascinating. This is
Mhm.
engaging. And so even things that are mundane that we take for granted, and even the things we don't like, the intentional training has helped me kind of really be more aware of them and more present in them. So that's been great. And of course, the time with my family now being just blocked off and purposeful in that nature is great. So,
Oh, I love it. What do you want to name your collection of tens?
oh, wow. I don't know, either presence or awareness.
Mm.
either one of those, just really engaging with the time that's there and the things that are there, the people that are there, taking yourself a little bit out. It's intentional training for me. I would say one of the weirdest things and I do research on humility, and I feel like this is a good lesson in humility in terms of understanding that you are just something of a much larger picture. No matter how awesome, amazing you think you are, not only there are other people that are awesome, amazing, but you are just a small part of a much larger picture. And you exist in this, not just for yourself, but for others as well. And so that really, and I mean that when I say like this training has helped me see that.
Ah, that is beautiful. It really speaks into our third dimension of philanthropic, really giving hope and playing a small role in something so much bigger than ourselves. Who has given you hope on this intentional journey?
Oh, you, of course. But also, seeing how my son now, I feel like I said, like the climate in the house has really kind of lightened up. So, seeing him, he sings and dances all the time around the house, and he's just much lighter and he's just more carefree and engaging with his world now, it feels like. So I would say for him, he has really given me hope in terms of like, okay, yeah, this is working. Something here is happening.
I
So
love the joy, right? You
yeah.
can just feel the joy of it. Okay, well, your words of wisdom to anyone listening and thinking about really their own life. What are your words of wisdom about intentional training?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say just engage with it, take the time. I mean, I'm still doing baby steps with it.
Mhm.
As we talked about, like I first started just mapping out the day, and I've gone more into the color coordinating and the statting it up. And now I'm trying to utilize it on a couple days ahead of time as well. So it's because it's very easy to see those key things that really must get done, and kind of that way. So I would say initially I was exhausted after the first 2 days of it. I thought like there's no way this is sustainable. And over time you really start to get regimented in a good way,
Mhm.
but really just owning yourself and owning your time and like having kind of mastery over your own life. The locus of control really just is through the roof. So take the time, be patient with it, and be patient with yourself. That's the only words of wisdom I have.
Beautiful. Well, team, there you go. So it's up to you to be intentional for you, and we are on your support team. Barret, thank you so much for sharing your time and just your story with us, and for the gift of having you as a client and just being a bit of your journey. So thank you for today.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, team, it's up to you. Go out and be intentional with your life training and make it a 10.